welcome to our very first episode of Meet Intelligence, live here from Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, where we have paired sharp minds with even sharper questions. So, I'm joined by one, two, three, four executives and decision makers from across industries. Together, we'll be exploring one of the most important conversations of our time. Of course, the future of AI, talent, and leadership. But before we dive in, let's start with a quick round of introductions, of course, so you can get to know each of our guests. Who would like to start?
I can go first. I'm sitting right here. Well, my name is Santosh Kaveti. I'm the CEO and founder of a technology services company called ProOrg. It's based out of Atlanta. We're a global team of about 450. We provide cloud, data, AI, and security services. That's what we do. Personally, about me, again, I'm very passionate about AI. That's the topic we're discussing here today. Travel. Travel currently 43 countries according to my Google timeline and 283 cities.
Wow. Happy to have you. Now the standard is set for introductions, but yeah, I'm Michael Fuddlebaum, Executive Vice President of Consulting Services for HSO. HSO is a global Microsoft partner headquartered out of Amsterdam. The U.S. headquarters is in New York City. I lead a team of consultants that do Microsoft business applications, primarily CRM. And we're excited about the possibilities of Copilot and other AI technologies for use internally as well as with our customers. So I'm excited to talk about that. Personally, I live in Greenville, South Carolina. I have 5 kids and 4 grandkids. I know that's difficult to believe, but that's how I spend a lot of my time is with my family. So,
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ethan Southern. I'm with a company, Key Consulting Services. I'm the managing partner. With that, we focus in the GIS space, geographic information systems. We work a lot with local municipalities, with local government, also utilities on that front. We do a lot of web development, but we also do, we have a subsidiary company called RouteMan. That company manages a space as far as accounts receivable for the ice industry, the people that manufacture and distribute ice across the world. So we have the software that handles that. So we have a mobile solution. We also do a lot of work. When it comes to, like I said, the logistics and the routing space. So using the mapping side of the business that we have and fusing that into it, really trying to help that industry kind of transition and using optimization. So looking at leveraging AI in the routing space of that. Also just how from our developers, be able to utilize AI to be able to gain furtherance and get further along with limited resources. So that's how we're using AI.
Thank you very much.
So, Maverick Garrett, I will skip the intro on HSO, but I work with HSO as well, so won't get the background there. But I lead the application modernization team there. So we have a small group spread out in the U.S., probably 30 or so folks just within my team that focus on really anything to do with yeah everything from business intelligence, application modernization, a lot of it in the dynamic space, a lot of it extending out to really Azure and other workloads like that. But probably more recently, every conversation we start with is, what are you doing in AI? How are we leveraging AI? I don't think we can do a Microsoft event without that being the topic of conversation. But I have spent at least 3 years in a dedicated role focused on an AI intelligence company before this in a startup. So had some had a chance to kind of go back to the roots of the startup and do this with a 10-person company and focus entirely on AI conversational intelligence. So it's always great talking about this.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. Guys, and I'll be your co-host. I'm Andy Monge, Senior Success Manager here at Oceans. I'm gonna be your rum enthusiast.
Yes.
Talking a little bit about the drinks that we're gonna take.
Yes.
So we're gonna have a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for coming.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Andy. So let me briefly explain how the dynamics will be. So we have these 3 exceptional rums from Dominican Republic, and we are going to taste them. We are going, of course, this connoisseur of rum will explain how the different notes and the different details that we should know about these rums. And in between, we will have questions, of course. May I? And yeah, so let's start with the first one, Andy.
First rum. Okay, thank you. So this first rum is gonna be. This is the oldest rum house in Dominican Republic. It's called Bermudez. The founder, if I'm not mistaken, was Armando Bermudez, and or Arnoldo Bermudez. I don't remember the name, but he founded this distillery in 1856. So it's a very old rum. This particular rum is their anniversary homage to the founder. So it's called Bermudez 1856. And it's a very interesting rum. So it's your classic aged Dominican rum, but it has a balance of oak, dried fruit, and spice. So it's great for sipping. I mean, with ice, without ice. And in this case, they have with ice because it's a little bit hot. But it's basically like the standard base of what a Dominican rum can be. So just let's smell it and flavor a little bit.
Cheers.
Does someone feel the spiciness and it's a little bit because of the oak. It has a little bit of smokiness as well.
Absolutely.
So
That's good.
this is delightful. So we're used to probably drinking not that good of a rum. So when we talk about rum, we think of rum and coke or whatever. But rum is as good. It could be as good as scotch or as bourbon, and it could be sipped with ice or by itself.
Fantastic. It's very good.
Okay, so talking about Bermudas a bit, foundations matter. So I'm just going to read the context so you can, after I read this, I will have some questions. So AI is advancing fast, but as a recent METR, which is an independent AI evaluation lab testing real-world AI performance and risks. So this study show it doesn't always make developers faster, AI. In fact, experienced coders were 19% slower using AI. So this highlights the truth, the human edge, where adaptability, creativity, and judgment are still indispensable, at least for now.
So
So here are the questions. From your perspective, what are the uniquely human strengths that remain non-negotiable in an AI-driven age?
Who wants to start? I think it's a very interesting question.
Start from there. Start.
Not everyone has to answer. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so from my perspective, this is just the beginning, right? We have to look at our history and say, when did AI based coding really begin? Well, it was there before. It really started happening when Anthropic released Claude for code. That's when worldwide there was a huge spike in using AI for coding. And then came Codex and then other platforms. So we're into this probably less than a year. And along now that we're quoting some statistics here, 90% of coders today use AI as part of their just regular coding practice. That's the reality. Now, what AI is good at is definitely automating a lot of mundane tasks that programmers would have, to do on their own. What AI is not good at is building that context, enterprise context to know when this particular code is released into production, what might happen and what are the downstream upstream impacts of that particular piece of code. AI is not quite there yet. It doesn't understand, that entire context, the production context in its entirety. That's where I think coders bring their value. It really amplifies coders' strengths. I always say this: AI is an amplifier. It amplifies your strengths. It also amplifies your dysfunctions. So if you're a bad programmer, meaning you're just simply trusting, and when we saw that programmers were just taking the output from ChatGPT and simply plugging it in and saying, "Well, why did you plug in this piece of trash here?" And the answer was because ChatGPT asked me to do. That's what the output was from ChatGPT was. So there's a work slop is real. and therefore no one can replace our thinking. AI should really amplify us, and that's how we should use it. But it depends on an individual. How are you using AI? Validate it. Always question it. Always monitor it. Don't trust the output blindly. That's where the human, as you rightly said, creativity, thinking, critical thinking comes into play.
You said a keyword, context. And I'd like to think of that more broadly because it's not just in the context of this piece of code. It's in the context of the business application of that piece of code. It's in the context of how that interacts with this integration or that integration or the other pieces that are around it, not just this piece of code. So we each as coders come to a project or to some sort of assignment with our own context, right? Our own bias around how to do this or how to do that. The idea around AI when it comes to coding and support of coding is that theoretically it gets better and better the more we give it the proper context. Think of industry, understanding a customer's business model and how that model works and how you might approach a problem differently based off of that context. These are all things that I do think that AI will get there, but there's still a big gap in my opinion.
I like to call it the human edge.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
human edge.
exactly.
We still have a human edge.
Exactly.
And in your estimations, I mean, since AI is evolving so fast,
Mhm.
will it get there? I mean, when will it get there? And if it gets there, I mean, how effective will it be? Is it Skynet that we're gonna get?
I think we're
Not the Terminator.
We hear that a great deal. I mean, you're talking about context. I mean, I'd like to try to put it in the nuance. Yeah, the nuances as a human that you can look at something and be able to say, you know, I need to make a slight turn to the left. As we know, like with a large ship, you know, it takes a very small rudder to actually turn that. So, you know, if we want to think about the human being that small rudder, then we can actually change and you know, articulate the code that we want based on our nuances. But I mean, it's our intuition as humans as well. That I don't think AI, you know, AI not having a soul and being able to look at it from that perspective, I think that's a large thing. I'd also like to, not that I'm going to question that statistic, but I'd like to almost see how the statistics would work out when you were to compare it to, let's say, older coders versus the younger generation coders that don't lean on it as a tool, but they lean on it as a crutch. Because if you lean on it as a crutch, then you may be more out to doing the sloppy code, right? So you're just going to take it carte blanche as far as what it gives you, and you're just going to plug it in. But a more experienced coder, someone that has had to fight that battle and didn't have AI to begin with, they may use it in a totally different way as a tool to be able to get to to the end goal of what they're looking at. Again, taking in the context, intuition, and all of that.
And to be honest, this study that said that 90% were slower using AI is on senior engineers.
It is
Of
on
course,
senior.
of course, the more junior mid level, I think they can get a little bit faster because they're not that knowledgeable. They don't know the workarounds. They don't know the shortcuts yet. So it makes total sense what you're saying.
Well, somewhat. I was actually thinking of the reverse, but now that I think about it, maybe you know the older coders' experience, they may have that distrust of what the AI did. So I know I can do better. So therefore, they're questioning that, and they're not just going on when the simple answer is go straight, not to right or left.
They're
So
using their wisdom, right? I mean,
right.
reporters know better. They know that they've experienced so many production scenarios, nuances. They know that they have to question, and it's zero trust approach. And I'm not going to trust this, to start with. And that's what the huge advantage.
But I will tell you, my senior coders. So if they watch this, sorry, yeah, you are getting old. But
Define
for
what senior
I'm
is.
not going to do
Let's not do that.
We'll just stop there. We'll just say senior. But for my coders, they are taking to it and they are leaning into it. I know that we're more productive using AI on that front. So again, statistics are just that. You know, it's a sample focus group of people. But you know, from my own experience and my developers, which most of them are more senior laden, they're more productive with it, and I can definitively say that. So is my thought.
I think this is such an interesting topic because I come from the coder world. I can say I'm a coder. I like how Michael just said he's a coder all of a sudden. But,
My career started as a
I-
coder, man.
Now you
So
know
I-
now you know why I'm sitting in between you
Yeah.
guys.
But as someone that's been in development for this many years, seeing AI and how quickly it's come about, you can be very defensive to that, or you can be on the offensive side. You really defend both sides of this. People that have seen this for the first time, are saying, look, anybody that's coding, your job's done, So, but these are the people that also have not been doing this for year after year. So the human context that's brought to it is really understanding that complete domain. If you've ever seen anyone vibe code before, a lot of times you're getting that first prototype very quickly. You're getting the front end very quickly. And then all of a sudden, when something fails, they're they continue to ask AI, "Well, fix this. Can you fix this?" And at some point, they're running out of actually understanding what's happening with us, what's behind the scenes. So there's certainly a need here for real relevance with the human interaction to understand the code. Uh, I know it is getting better, but I think it's mostly just going to make us more productive. Michael and I were having this discussion about AI and where things are going. We've never run out of things to do for a client that can make them more productive. That's one way to look at it, right? So it's always about continuing to expand that envelope. And I think the tool set, uh, it's helping, but it's not the one thing that's going to continue to get rid of the need for actually understanding the plumbing behind the scenes.
Thank you very much, Maverick. So to wrap up this idea, Andy, would you agree that we as humans are still indispensable, even though we have AI? Because the critical thinking from humans is still, something from the basis, it's basic, it's foundations.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
Bermuda's found. Excellent. So moving on to the next one, I would like to give an introduction.
Sure.
to
Also, while we
that.
serve it. No,
It's okay,
we're gonna have
it's okay, we have time.
Yes, I
I if you don't want to drink
Don't
it.
worry. So this one is the benchmark of Dominican rum. Well, this next one. This is Barceló. Barceló House is the biggest house I think right now in the Dominican Republic. And Barceló Imperial is the benchmark. It's the most sold rum. And I think it's the highest end they have. Pretty good. So we're gonna try it. I just finished this one, so it's okay. But Barceló Imperial. This is a more refined with an elegant structure. It has dry fruity notes. You're not feel them. It's less overt sweetness. I mean, it's not like this one. You felt it was a little sweet, so it's gonna be a little bit different. It doesn't have that sugar overlord, but it's overload, but it's complex. So it has a mix of. I mean, it's still a Northern barrel. No, this is a sherry barrel. I'm sorry, but you see the color is a little bit different. Yeah, what we serve the other one, but the interesting thing about this is everywhere you go and you talk to someone about Dominican rum and they like rum, they haven't most likely tried this rum. So everyone that comes here just take away the bottle. It's not that expensive. It costs like around $40. So it's very affordable for such a high quality rum. So if you compare it to other rums like Guatemala rum, like Zacapa, that were very famous, they tend to get a little bit more price. And I think the quality here is even better.
Thank you very much for that
I want to
introduction.
tell you that we're good rum salesperson.
I could, but no, I just like it. I mean,
He'll be out front. He'll be out front.
Is this the backup job in case AI takes it?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Rum-
That's a good idea.
Rum distillery or
AI not helping with the rum industry. Yeah?
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
yes.
A little bit smoother, as you felt it. The other one's a little bit stronger. Because of the process thing.
Definitely does taste it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's more fruity. Yeah, this is good for. I mean, the other one,
Breakfast.
the other one is good for like having like stronger meals, and this can be good with nuts, having some fruit. It goes well with a lot of things. Chocolate, dark chocolate makes a great flavor with this one. So I wanted to have it. We didn't bring it, but it would be amazing because the mix of flavors.
Chocolate and rum sounds like a defined, right?
You should have brought some.
It's better. It's better than chocolate and scotch, which is very famous on mix. This is even better because of the sweet.
I have to ask you, in Costa Rica, have you guys got into craft ice or anything where you do more the sphere cube or cubes or sphere?
Clear ice matters.
Clear ice, yes.
Clear ice matters.
Some of the some bars are doing it, but very artisanal. I think is the word. So they're doing it very like locally. There's not like companies that are providing it yet. I think, but it might happen eventually because
It's starting to get bigger and bigger where some of the larger companies are starting to do the craft ice. So people say, like, when you use this type of ice, because it diffuses out very fast, whereas the craft ice stays together so you're not diluting
Yeah,
the mixture.
when you have to have ice that's not clear, those air bubbles make the ice melt faster, and it
Yeah, don't,
dilutes the plate. So clear ice does matter.
it does.
Our mixology class is next.
That's
It's very interesting.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on ice.
Oh, yeah,
That's
for sure.
very passionate.
I feel great.
Obviously,
I-
super
I-
passionate.
That's Sammy's
Another
next
thing you can-
podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's my podcast. Yeah.
So talking a little bit about this specific round, Barcelos. So here's the context or the state. If Barcelos sets the benchmark for round, what's the benchmark for talent in the AI era? Many leaders are realizing that reskilling and redeploying teams is not optional. It's the core strategy. So Latin American talent in particular has shown agility in adapting quickly to global shifts. So here's the question. How are you how are you reskilling or redeploying your teams as AI adoption accelerates?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll start. So the first question was around context of coding with AI support. We do a lot of functional consulting too. So we're talking to customers, we're hearing what their requirements are, we're gathering those requirements. So we're teaching our consultants to use Copilot within Microsoft Teams when they're doing that discovery, recording that conversation, and then asking Copilot to produce a list of requirements that we then load into Azure DevOps as user stories for changes that need to happen to the system. So that's just a simple way that our consultants might have spent hours formulating notes and writing user stories and those sorts of things that can happen in a matter of minutes. And many times capturing things that we would have missed otherwise. So that's just one example of how our teams are doing it. The reality is you have to put the tools into their hands and do training on how to use those tools. What's compliant with the way that we work? What's different about the way that I might get an answer from a chat bot versus what we're going to actually do in this implementation? How do you incorporate those standards into the responses that are coming back from the agent? And that agentic type approach for not just code, but also from a consulting perspective is super powerful.
So since you mentioned that, that's very interesting. Let me go to take it a little bit further. What does an AI ready workforce look like then?
It looks like someone who knows and understands how to write the proper prompts.
Okay, yeah. That's
It-
good starters.
Prompt engineering. You have to also provide agentic solutions that align with the way you do business or the way that your customers do business. Those things are important. And you have to spend time, money, and effort in order to prepare that.
With my perspective, I think you done a lot of good points there. I also think code attribute, I'm going to focus on just programming for a second here and make that the context.
Yeah, of course.
I think a lot of programming jobs will go away. And we're sitting here, I'm lying to you if I say that's not the case. The problem is AI is not going to take our jobs. Humans who can use AI effectively are going to take the jobs of programmers. That's what's going to happen. In any fashion, anyone who can use AI effectively is going to take the job of someone who's not. It's as simple as that. So in the context of coding, what we try to push is don't let two things happen to you. One, trust AI as default. Don't never let that happen to you. And know that because everyone is using AI tools, everyone's code is beginning to look the same. Yeah. It's content normalization across the board. How do you differentiate yourself?
And it's seen clearly when you see the content now published in LinkedIn or social
Oh,
media. Everything's the
from a
same.
marketing content perspective,
It's the same.
it's a gone word. I mean, everybody's emails look the same.
Yeah,
I mean, I get
exactly.
100 of these, actually, you all get hundreds of vendors emails. They all look the same. I'm like, what do you pay attention to and what do you not, right? And then we also say, okay, don't go to AI as your first choice. And that's what's happening. That's how we call it brain rot. Don't go to AI as your first choice. Go through your own creativity process. You know, learn, understand, explore. Deep thinking only develops once you ruminate on something, you think about it, you take a walk on it, you dream about it, and only then something good will come out of it. Otherwise, you're part of this huge brain rot. Yes, we do upskill, we tell them to use different IDs, like I said, cursor, whether it's Codex, we let them experiment with different tools and techniques. Um, we use DevOps heavily as well. The other thing we emphasize is AI will not know your context in its entirety. Like, for example, you're coding for a client who's in healthcare. You know that your code needs to be compliant against HIPAA, the CMS rules, the FDA rules, and so on and on and on. And only you can really, overlay that context of security and compliance. And that AI will never be able to get there anytime soon at this point, hopefully one day, but not anytime soon. That's what we focus on is just push that creativity, bring additional business context into the coding. New roles are, to me, getting developers out of their comfort zone, becoming a little bit of AI engineers, business engineers. And I'm seeing all over the place, I'm seeing this new roles because old roles are gone. I mean, 2 years from now, I think everyone's got a new role. Everyone is a bit of AI engineer. Everyone is a bit of a business stakeholder because they're going to have to get there. They can't be behind the scenes anymore. That's basically what we're trying to tell everybody from our side.
So as I recall, the prompt was, you're talking about how are we helping our coders adapt, right? So or transition to the AI. So and I do think adaptation, like in our particular environment that we're in with the GIS space and constantly trying to, I mean, for the last 20 plus years of our company, things don't stay the same. So we're constantly having to find ways. So this is just another tool set that we have found in our coders and the rest of our team have found to be able to utilize AI to adapt. So I think it's a culture that you have in your company. So if your culture is, just maintaining status quo, I think you're going to have a much more reluctant staff and employees to be able to accept AI and change. So you've heard you quote the term of get uncomfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable, that's been the world that I've been living in ever since starting business. So I think it's something that's been fairly easy for us to adapt. But I will also tell you, I don't know. I don't fully know how we're going to adapt all to it because I fully don't know where we're going with this. And you can hear all the minds out there, and they just sound like talking heads about you can get very pessimistic view, you can get very optimistic views. But what I don't hear a lot is somewhere in the middle. It's one or the other of how good it's going to be or how bad it's going to be. I like to take a bit more of a pragmatic approach when it comes to that. That I think it is what you make of it. Again, I don't Skynet to come down on this and any of that. You hear about the simulation theory that we're all living in a simulation already. I mean, I really, I don't want to go thinking about that, but ultimately, several of the gentlemen have already spoke about this, but the tool sets that we're using and my coders are using and my team's using, you know, Copilot has been fantastic. But again, going back to what you were saying, don't allow it to be brain rot. That the first thing you think about shouldn't be, okay, what would AI do? It's no, what's my outcome? How should I approach this? And then again, using AI as a hammer, as a tool to be able to get that achieved. But we're using things like, note taking, being able to uh, save a lot of time for my coders to know what they're doing or meetings to give them directives and bullet points through Firefly AI to be in those meetings, sitting there. We can talk to Fred, it's Fred with Fireflies and tell him, hey, we want you to do this. And then it just magically comes to us within 10 minutes after the meeting. It's fantastic. But utilizing Notebook LM, if you haven't used that, being able to consolidate all your different sources and not having to go out to a large model for it to give you, you can put it in the sources that you want. And then have a conversation from those sources. And yes, you could say you're pigeonholing yourself to one line of thinking. But again, I think it's not one line of thinking. It goes back to the brain rot. If I've put in plenty of resource, my human intellect into trying to solve a problem and saying, I know that these 25 sources, whether it's PDF, handwritten notes, URLs, videos, and I can feed that in, and I know these are trusted sources because I've used my intuition to figure that out. Now I can ask questions and get back results that maybe isn't going to spit out the sloppy code, right? That's going to give me that feedback that I'm looking for and I'm hoping for.
Right.
So you touched on something that I tried to emphasize earlier, and that is until we give AI the context, we're going to get mediocre responses, right? So there's something that makes each of our businesses unique in terms of our value proposition to our customers. And we don't want to lose that.
Right.
And if we're not careful, like you said, AI gives all the same answers the same way. So we have to put in context the AI responses that we're getting that are relevant to the industries we serve, that are relevant to the way that we do business, the way we interact. Those sorts of things are the areas that need guidance, prompt engineering, et cetera, to this.
I'll say real quick that, I think your original question too is like, how do we evaluate people, using AI? And there's the easy part of AI that everyone in school right now understands is content generation, right? And searching, right? That's you're going to come out of school with that as an automatic. That's wrote every paper that you had, and it was your default search. I think it's understanding where to put AI into just about every thread of what you're doing and work, whether it's from, I think summarization, maybe this is just because I have a little bit of ADD, but being able to take 100 documents from a client and say, what is the system about? Do that content summarization and then be able to come back to a client and say, here's how we would, propose something for you, content generation, and then be able to go, what work items would you create? DevOps, how we create the code, basically using it across every work cycle that you have, not just one little piece. If you're not, it's not part of your everyday. And we take a co-pilot standpoint, it could be any tool, right? I mean, there's so many other good ones out there. It just happened to be one that we got discounted license for because we work for Microsoft.
I'm a Microsoft guy, so it's going to be Copilot.
But they all, you can tell right now, they're all leaking into the same language models, multiple models. That's a battle that's out there. But ultimately, the training, one of the first trainings we did was truly on prompt engineering. What is the best way to ask this and phrase something and get something good out of it? In the coding world, you basically create a scheme, basically initial prompt that says, here's how I want my code. This is what I want it to look. This is how I want it structured. Once you give it that spec, magically this thing starts to work for you, right? And that's an exciting time just to create more standard type code that we all actually want to come out.
Thank you very much, Maverick. I think the highlight, and I'm taking this home with me, is allow AI to help you stand out. Don't be lazy. Don't become a lazy person.
Right.
And just like Sandra said, brain rot is something that scares me a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for that input. We would like to move on to the third round. They
Sure.
are turning the room there. So Andy, this is the Brugal, right?
Yeah, this is a Brugal Leyenda, my personal favorite. It's one of my all-time favorites. Probably the second favorite rum. Brugal is my favorite distillery in the Dominican Republic. They make fantastic products. This is not their top rum. This is the very close. It's called Brugal Leyenda. It's more bold and unusual, and it's pretty. I'm gonna tell you why. This is a pretty unusual rum. So it has fruit, sherry, and wine influence. The reason of that it being is 80% rum and 20% Spanish red wine. So it has a mix. The colors are a little more dense. So it's a little bit darker. The flavors are a little bit different because of it as well. Um, and also it's polarizing but interesting. The mix, of course. You'll enjoy some oloroso finishes. Port Madeira, like Madeira's our flavor. And I think you dig it. I mean, I love it. It's a little. If you hate sweetness, it might not be for you. Maybe I don't know. But let's see. It's an interesting mix. So yeah,
Okay, maybe we can talk about the context when we're finishing
the
rate
serving.
the sipping. So here's the context. Of course, I have to read it. I don't know it by heart, but here it is. We are entering what some call the fifth revolution, not using AI just as a tool, but as a force reshaping business and society. The timeline, however, is contested. Some predict rapid transformation. Others expect a slower, uneven adoption, as the meter study suggested when AI actually slowed productivity. So I would like to listen to all of you because this is a nice debate. What's your view? What's your view? Is AI revolution here already? Coming fast, or will it be a more gradual shift? Also, just for you to think while while the first one is answering, how should companies prepare for such uncertainty?
Well, I can start. I'm going to say it's both. It is here, and it's going to be transitioning very quickly. And you hear different people talk about as early as 2027. When are we going to get to super intelligence? Super intelligence, obviously, being where AI is smarter than every human. And being able to do reasoning, be able to take it to that. I'm going to actually start more where my concern with AI is. I mentioned about it using AI as a tool, such as a hammer. That it still takes a human to wield that hammer. But I don't want the hammer to be able to think on its own and be able to use itself. Without our interaction, and that's a concern that I have. Um, as far as knowing where it's going to go, I don't think. I mean, it's all a bit conjecture as far as us as being able to try and figure it out. But we already know from the different laws that are out there that the way that everything doubles every so many months, right? As far as technology and ability to do, power plants are going up everywhere, data centers are going up everywhere, to be able to supply this. Once you get going with it, what are you going to be able to do? But the one thing I can tell you is there's not going to be a conscience infused into AI. There's not a soul that's going to be infused into AI. Um, and how are we going to be able to, as a society, be able to utilize that tool if it does want to kind of maneuver outside the bounds that we place it? Because if you think about bowling, you can bring up those lanes inside of a bowling to keep it not going into the gutter. And I don't know that we've got enough guardrails in place from an AI safety standpoint to put up the bumpers, right? So the ball doesn't go into the gutter while you're bowling. So again, I don't think it's doomsday, but from a work perspective, I'll tell you. I mean, it's something that I don't fully know. Hopefully, some of these gentlemen can enlighten me. And again, I don't want to have a pessimistic, but I don't have an overly overtly optimistic view either. So,
Think about how AI impacted our world a year ago.
It's insane.
It is absurd the speed of change. So that change is going to continue. That change is going to probably excel our customers. It depends on the industry, frankly, as to whether they will accept it quickly. We work with customers that are regulated industries. They're going to be very cautious about AI being infused into everything that they do, financial services, government, those types of environments. But That change is going to be occurring whether they adopt it or not. And how we adjust and drive that change, both within our own organizations and within our customers' organizations, is going to be pivotal to whether we're successful. Because if we're not driving that, someone else is going to.
Right.
Well, one thing that I do appreciate what you brought up, and I mean, we're already experiencing it on the GIS side of my business, that there has been some things kind of moving in the state level in Alabama. Some companies, leveraging AI, and there's been a big pushback, somewhat from a county level, not understanding what's fully going to occur. So that's a human element, just afraid of what might come along. So I do agree with you, and the other industries that we serve, it's how quickly is it going to be adopted, but it's going to be adopted. Of course. I mean, at some point it will be infused, and how does it get infused? But I agree with you. The adoption rate is still very different from it actually being.
The number of customers who were very slow to say, "Oh, we're good going to the cloud," right? Just think about that for a second. Everything was on premise, and everybody wanted to keep their stuff right here.
And I was like,
until they were comfortable that the cloud was here.
And the fourth revolution was what, like 2 decades ago?
Right.
And we're already in the fifth.
Right.
So I mean, it's been like super, super slow, super fast.
Yes.
Going back to what you were saying, I was using ChatGPT 1 early 2023, the first one. But ChatGPT 5, I mean, all the changes and the difference, the efficiency, the level of product is getting back is much, much better. In only 2 years, it's insane how fast everything. I agree with you. And you're just scaling it up a little bit because of this uncertainty now, the solution, that's still like a myth. Like, are we there yet? Is it already here? Is it coming soon? We don't know. And specifically going back to Latin America, and this is something that I'm really interested to hear in your opinions about is given that we have a cultural structural advantage like in some other regions in the world. That's one question I was going to ask to see what you have, and how can we position Latin America since we're being here, or at least the American content, to be like to thrive in this AI revolution that we're doing?
Agility, adaptability, speed to market. That's what gives you an advantage.
I would like to add to that list. Those are the great three things. Is the things that held you back as a Latin talent, where companies in the US maybe were hesitant. Maybe it was because of homes, maybe it was a culture, not understanding the business context. AI can really bridge that gap.
Mm.
I see there's huge potential there where AI can bridge the gap of things that held, the Latin talent. Yeah. Huge advantage is the time zone, the presence, and then the option of nearshore, right? And if you can use that to bridge the gap, there's huge.
I'd like to say that even currently, there's a lot, and not to get political, but I mean, in the United States, I mean, there's a huge concern about just institutional um, degradation as far as what our universities are teaching and how they're teaching. People going through schools. We've tried to hire several people coming straight out of school, and we've been less than impressed with their interviewing capabilities, with their working abilities, with their understanding. And I think all that has to do with going back to what you said earlier, Maverick, was the you know almost leveraging AI, do my test, do this, do that, and they get into an interview and they don't know how to overcome. Again, I can't speak to the universities and the schooling that Latin America and the Latin communities have, but I know what I see from an employer and wanting to employ people. It's getting worse and worse. The resource pool of people that I'm looking for a work ethic, and I don't know if y'all already have that, or if it's infusing, or if it's kind of
go back to the term rot, right? If it's rotting into like the core of the universities. So
And going back to like speaking specifically about school and education, how do you control it? I mean, it used to be a lot of multiple selection tests. Now you can ask, like, you go to ChatGPT, ask a question, and it's already there, perfect answer. Or if you do like a writing test or whatever to take to home, or a assignment to take that home, I mean, how do you know?
you don't.
That's what
It's practical.
talking to my daughter about the same topic. What I had to emphasize multiple times, is don't use ChatGPT to solve one of your problems. Use ChatGPT to understand the concepts, understand, something that you are having difficulty in. Why are you unable to solve the problem? Because maybe you don't understand the concept. Ask ChatGPT what that is. It can do probably a better job in explaining that to you in so many different ways. So that actually made a huge, at least, my personal experience, that made a huge difference. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna ask, to do my homework. I'm gonna ask to say, this is where I'm struggling. Can you please explain it? Oh, I still don't understand. Can you please explain it in a different way? I still don't understand. See, that's what AI is actually really good at. It gives you different angles and perspectives, and then you say, okay, I got it now.
yeah, I was talking to someone earlier today. I don't remember who, but just talking about different perspectives on how to apply what we understand, and problem solving is something that people coming straight out of university, they need to know and understand how to solve a problem. We learned that on the farm growing up. How do I do this, or how do I fix this, or I'm thrown into this situation, and how do we evaluate that? I mean, I have some ideas, but they're not perfect either. So,
But they're all
but
digital natives.
but yeah, but right now, that's the skill set that I think is needed more than anything else. Is given a unique problem, how do you solve it? If it's a problem that's been solved over and over and over again, AI is going to be able to help with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the original question, like my main interest is going like, how can laptops position themselves in this fourth revolution, right? And I cheated a little bit because I knew the question, so I had my own answer. So I think there's three uniques. There's three uniques. The first of all, we have a young, tech savvy workforce, so that's two. And then the structural infrastructure, cultural infrastructure that we have, I think they're easy to scale because of how LATAM is right now, right? So it's much younger than some other countries, and we have a lot of space that they love advantage in that side. Um, it's a little bit more affordable. Um, Cultural traits are adapting pretty much over similarities against the United States, which make a lot of difference, right?
Sure.
The near shore, the time zone alignment. I think that's the great advantage. There's some creativity a lot in Latin America. Costa Rica, for example, so most of them from Costa Rica isn't chosen place by most tech companies because for some reason the Costa Rican educational system like makes creativity bloom blossom somehow. So that's why Intel is there. I don't know because they say they're very creative. They say they're sometimes lazy and they do it in quotes, and they say that that's a good thing because they try to think outside the box to solve problems in fast. So it's pretty interesting.
Two different answers. The question is, how can LATAM take advantage of the US market? There's an answer, of course. But the question is, how can LATAM really transform itself and stay ahead of this AI curve? A totally different answer.
Yeah, well, definitely.
So I'll give you one example. This is my experience working with ProArt. We always found it very odd that Argentina, has really good data engineers and data scientists. I was reading through this. We work with through our clients, to our own teams. We work with many data engineers and data scientists in Argentina. And we're all very impressed. Like, how come they have such a great set of data engineers and data scientists? You know what I learned? Apparently, Argentina has excellent actuarial sciences programs. And that was a default goal to degree to pursue for many years. If something happened to the economy and it really tanked or whatever happened, and everybody looked to see, okay, what can I do now?
was there in actuarial sciences, there's statistical modeling, selling data, straight data people. They all went and said, okay, we're going to go after data engineering, data sciences. And but the foundation was that they had really good math modeling, statistical modeling courses, and that's what really led them to the
Well, I think that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier about some of the cultural and the way that the U.S. is putting themselves behind the. Because a lot of universities are becoming political. I mean, it's always been that way, but it seems to have gotten a lot worse. Like you go to get indoctrinated into a political ideology instead of going to learn a skill set. So, what I've noticed, with coders in Latin America is just being hungry. Something that I feel like, maybe us Americans feel entitled. It's like, oh, it should just come to us, and it's not that drive and that push quite like maybe what you have in Latin America. But you were talking about testing and how do we figure this out, and you got all these same tests with the same answers, and AI is just, I mean, that's an easy lift for AI to do. But I tie it back to athletics. I mean, when you're wanting to learn like a sport, I played tennis, so you can't just say, I want to learn more about tennis, make me good at tennis. You got to go out there, you got to put the work in, you got to do that. And how do you test for that? You go and you play other people and you find out who's going to win, who's better or not. And you might go back and forth, but typically as you're doing that, you're both getting better at what you're doing. But when it comes down to testing and you got multiple choice, again, AI is going to be easy at doing that. Write me a paper. Hey, just like I'm not even having a sweat over here with what AI is saying. So the only way that I could see is changing the learning model to more of a reasoning test where you're having a discussion with somebody and you're doing that instead of just okay, I'm doing a Christmas tree as far as A, C, D, based on prompts that I'm putting in the AI. And I mean, we've completely segmented, or you're just going to have to say, everybody, phones here, go and take a test.
Yeah.
But I mean, who's going to do that? My son's school has actually gotten aware, and I applaud them for this. They're not allowed to use their phones any longer in class. And this is high school.
I think it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
happening.
But we've had 10 years plus now of students going through using their phones, having their phones, Googling now whatever AI chat you want to do up until this point, and now they're having to critically think again and do that. So again, I can't specifically say what Latin America can do, but culturally I do see a little bit of a difference.
I do think, I mean, your points around the youth, there's not as many senior codes than one.
There is a lot, but I say youth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I mean when I talk about young workforce, it means a lot of folks are studying systems engineering
Yes. Yeah.
so in Latin America it's a pretty common career, and they're not only studying like in general software engineering career, they're specializing in different things. So it started with machine learning. We call it now AI. It's machine learning, right? And at the end of the core of it is machine learning. You used to be a software engineer, you started learning machine learning on the side. Now you start learning while you're studying for software engineering as well. And you study different languages, different models, different frameworks. So I think that's when everybody sees young workforce
Well,
that is growing fast.
I look at it more as it's the adaptability. Our universities are actually very slow to adapt to change. I mean, you know, talking to people coming out of a computer science course, 10 years ago, were maybe learning Fortran or something that they COBOL or things that are already had surpassed, but that was the program, right? It was like, okay, this is what enterprises are using now. So the adaptability into the new tools that are out right now, you basically are kind of on the same equal playing ground, and especially with AI as well, right? I mean, it actually puts you in more equal.
When I went to school, luckily we used C++, so it's still a little bit relevant. It's all but it's still irrelevant.
I have to bring up one little point so I have a 19-year-old daughter in school. She has this charge on her credit card for like $40 a month. And I'm like, what is this for? She said, well, it's for chat GPT thing. And I'm like, well, that should be like $20, shouldn't it? Because actually it's not for chat GPT, it's the one to tell me whether I wrote my paper as a chat GPT anti-chat.
Oh,
And I'm like, so you're paying for the AI and the AI to determine whether you did AI, which is I want to put that call process out.
I appreciate her fortitude. She's not doing that. I mean, if you're gonna do AI, try to do it.
He was like, how do I get this removed? I'm like, you can just ask AI.
Hey, you know, it's like how it is.
That becomes an interesting question.
Yeah, it's-
You also need to happen to you, capital Jo's. There's a level of distrust
yes.
that's building.
Yeah.
Like if I see even one of our priorities and if I see an email that sounds like an AI, my level of trust just goes down. And I have to validate, okay, I really need to know what this person is trying to tell me. No, I don't need AI, So you can have to like I
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty noticeable because AI writes as we should all write, right? Perfectly. They use like the middle dash or whatever.
And we all know people on our teams who don't write emails that well.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
started
Right.
going up.
You can tell,
Yes.
definitely. So,
I know specific people.
somebody.
I think AI tends to bloviate too. Tries to be overly nice and things like that. I still I do like finding an email where there's misspelled words, but now it's legit.
that's part of being human.
But,
We're
but,
talking
but
about.
look, but look, AI. I mean, it's like, okay, well, I just got to miss a few words. So I mean, yeah, I can make it sound like
Well,
this.
I love music, right?
Yeah.
And it used to be, if you hear like the old band, I'm a rocker, Led Zeppelin, for example. Or Freddie Mercury.
Led Zeppelin.
Freddie Mercury, for example.
Freddie.
You hear the voices.
Yeah.
There was no auto-tune back in the day.
Right.
That is the real voice. And you can hear the flaws in some records. It is part of it. But we got used to being so perfect. And if it happening with AI, they were used to seeing now everything perfect. So now you can hear a song that is not with auto-tune or whatever. You hear some like missed notes, even if you're not a musical guy. You feel it, or you hear it, or you sense that something's wrong. And I think it's happening with AI as well.
Now that we're talking about music, I've heard that Spotify has fake artists.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
So, and you can definitely tell when you put it in like the DJ or something, it throws music that is not like made by. You can tell it's not human. So
It's just too good. I like I don't know that person's name, but I'm like, I should know that person's name because that's incredible. But you're talking about with AI. I mean, when CDs came out, dating ourselves here. But it was all about making crystal clear because you didn't want to have any of the little
Yeah.
the needle and stuff.
Yeah.
But then what happens after it's like, man, this just sounds too clear. So then everybody goes back. They're actually putting that in on the CDs, or you go back to vinyl. And now it's
Andre, you're a vinyl guy, right?
I mean, I like, yeah, I definitely like it, but I mean, I have my favorite records in vinyl for sure.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not that much. It's not because of the sound. It's more of the
The nostalgia.
I need to set it up. I need to
It's the taking the
I agree.
LP out.
Right,
And getting the needle lined up.
we're
just
we're
right.
going to need like a second episode
Definitely.
just to speak about music. So because
Before we went closing,
we're going to close.
how did you like this room?
So I'm a bourbon guy for the video, but I love this rum.
This is your favorite one, right?
The first one is
Oh,
probably
really?
my favorite, but this one is very good.
Okay, good.
Like
Well, mine too.
Yeah,
this was
the
I like
first
the
one's
first
so
one.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us today. We'll talk later to see if we do a second podcast. 'Cause this has been very, very interesting. Thank you, our audience. I hope you learned a lot. I know I did. I'm taking many, many very important points from this. So cheers for a perfect and great future with AI.
We're gonna have to make use of, so.
Bye.